Call the February 27th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Start the evening with roll call, please.
Colton.
Here.
Stephenson.
Here.
Schlauhauer.
Here.
Schreiber.
Here.
Wilhelm.
Here. All right. Mr. Manley, any ceremonies, announcements, appointments, or presentations?
There's none.
None. Any amendments to the,
With the reappointment, they were already done.
Oh, okay.
You might mention.
maybe?
Commissioners, just on the reappointments, we had 2 commissioners that got reappointed. I guess that would be the only update. You're probably all aware of that.
It's true.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Surprising.
Who was that?
The two
You don't
down here.
know. Read the notes. Any amendments to the agenda?
None.
Any declaration of conflict, ex parte contacts, or site visits from commission members?
No.
All right. Mr. Manley, can you review the consent calendar, please?
Yeah, we got one item. It's action item A. It's the meeting minutes from the February 11th, 2025 P&Z hearing.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? No questions? Anybody like to make a motion?
Move to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Okay, we have a motion
Second?
and a second. Roll call, please.
Walton.
Yes.
Stephenson.
Yes.
Schlauhauer.
Yes.
Schreiber.
Yes.
Wilhelm.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is citizens issues. This section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the commission on an issue that is not on the agenda tonight. Persons wishing to speak will have 5 minutes. Do we have anybody tonight? All right. Any unfinished or old business?
There's none.
All right. Well, that'll take us into our action items tonight. Public hearings, we have 2 of them. If you're wishing to testify, there are documents. Are they still in the back or in the corner? Or,
I believe so.
okay. Fill out those documents, bring them up to the front here, and at that time, we'll get you to speak. First public hearing is Idaho Ranch file number ANNX-24-8. We'll open the hearing.
Good evening, Commissioners. John Manley, Planning Manager here at the City of Post Falls, presenting the Idaho Ranch annexation ANNX 24-8. The owner of this property is the Jacqueline Land Company, with the applicant being the Whipple Consulting Engineers. With annexation requests, the P&Z's role is to just recommend the zoning on to City Council. They don't make the decision on the annexation itself. It's just forwarding a recommendation on to City Council. So what the applicant is asking for is for the 4.81 acres that they own to be forwarded on to City Council with that request of the community commercial mix. They also included some old railroad right-of-way that the City of Post Falls owns now, which I'll show as part of the exhibits, what portion was which with this presentation. Project location is as you see here. It's north of Prairie Avenue, east of Fennicus, a little bit to the northeast. You can kind of see here highlighted in the red, the long corridor there you see running from Fennicus to the southeast to Prairie. That is that railroad right-of-way area, with the parcel that they're interested in being at that location. Surrounding zoning is as you see here. Directly to the west is additional CCM properties that was part of a previous annexation. So I believe the applicant can expand more. The idea is just to annex this and move this into that same similar zoning. On this site, currently a vacant, undeveloped lot, formerly part of a larger residential lot, and it's over the Rathrum Prairie Aquifer. The water provider on this is the Ross Point Water District. For wastewater, the City of Post Falls would service the site. There is a 12th Avenue surcharge on this. We'll go into more on the following slide here. Actually, Rob will come up and discuss kind of the infrastructure and how this gets facilitated. As far as traffic, it is adjacent to Fennicus Road, which is a major collector. No additional rights-of-way or easements or dedication would be required along Fennicus Road. The property, this area here is supposed to be part of the Prairie Trail, so it would be adjacent to that Prairie Trail, which upon development would provide some connectivity and opportunities for connectivity. On that note, I think I'll have Rob come up and talk about the infrastructure that would be needed for facilitating this.
Good evening, members of the commission. Robert Paulus, city engineer. I'm gonna make John have to raise it when he comes back up, intentionally so. So the property being north of Prairie and just east of Fennicus Road, there is a dry line sewer that was installed along the property's western boundary in Fennicus. That line currently terminates on the south side of Prairie Avenue. And so for that property at this current time, there's not a sewer line that it can connect into that actually provides service to the site. Looking at a bigger picture as to what it's gonna take for it to have sewer in the future, there's approximately a half mile of sewer that needs to be installed from Prairie Avenue, which is on the far right side of the screen as you're looking at it, down to Hope Avenue. And that's the future Meyer alternative line that's shown. That will be installed by developers, either the Foxtail development, or if this project wanted to move forward faster, they would be able to put that in with coordination with the Foxtail development. That doesn't fully take care of the issue because that dry line also has some limitations, or the connection point at Hope Avenue has some limitations, and that's going to be dictated by the line that's in pole line where it connects to Highway 41. Currently, we're in the process of making some minor repairs on that line, but it does have some limitations. It was identified as being able to handle all of Foxtail and a little bit more, but that little bit more is kind of dependent upon the realities of how Foxtail develops and how much people actually are using sewer out in that area, the impacts of a school. There's some variabilities when you take a half section of land and have the sewer come in. The city of Post Falls is collecting surcharges for the sanitary sewer, and that's where the Meyer alternative surcharge comes in that this parcel would be subject to if it comes into the city of Post Falls. That surcharge pays for what's identified as the future Meyer alternative line south of Early Dawn Avenue and then along Horsehaven Avenue. Those two sections have not been constructed yet. The city has been collecting funds towards that, and our goal and the way the fees are set up is about the time that we collect enough money from surcharges, that should be about the same time that that pipe needs to be going in and constructed. So we have a plan as to how to get sewer out there. It's just that right now, it's kind of the end of the line is coming in. This this future Meyer alternative line is also important to further growth in the area north of here. That's a real quick synopsis. Any questions? No.
The red line is what's gonna come in,
Yes.
and then that little circle right there, the subject property.
So,
Those two buildings, right, those commercial buildings there, that looks like that.
oh, on the far right side, which would be
That's a
Peak Fitness
church
and the
that's,
school?
The workout place.
Yes.
Right, don't they have sewer there?
They have sewer, but they utilize a different line that on here you can't see. The line that they utilize heads to the west and then connects up into Prairie Avenue at Highway 41.
Wouldn't that be closer for that?
Probably more capacity question.
Well, it was more of where the lines were drawn and where we were trying to set up to get flows into this future Meyer alternative line. There's a lot of history that it's called the future Meyer alternative line because originally the line was located all the ways over into Meyer Avenue, and in working with the developers of Foxtail and the developers of the tech park, an alternative came about to put sanitary sewer up Fennicus Road, and in order to make that pencil, what was shown was that the lands that were north of Prairie and east of Fennecis, and then also north of Prairie and north of the railroad tracks, there was a spot in there where there was a future lift station identified. And so we were trying to maximize that lift station's service area. And this piece here was situated such that we wanted to put it into the Fennecis line.
But it's not there.
But it's
But you already
No.
said it was kind of iffy, this whole thing.
iffy.
At the first part of your speech?
Well, now I wish I could read back exactly what I said.
I think he said
But-
John's iffy.
That's what?
At the current moment, this property, yes, it could come into the city of Post Falls, but the ability to provide sanitary sewer service to it is not currently available. And it's going to take a number of actions to occur. One is you have to extend the future Meyer alternative from Hope Avenue up to Prairie. And then, dependent upon when the trigger point happens at Pole Line Avenue and Highway 41, you need to have the line in Horse Haven and then in Fennecis, that's south of Pole Line or south of Early Dawn Avenue, to be constructed.
So currently this is really screwing me up, this thing being sideways. I'm a north up guy. But the future Meyer alternative line to the right, that's what's not there. But you have existing sewer to the left of it there.
Yeah. That
But they can't use that existing sewer either?
There are some potential long-term capacity limitations in that pipe. Right now, Foxtail is utilizing that pipe, and it's temporarily running sewage out to Highway 41 and Pole Line Avenue. But the size of the line that's in Pole Line Avenue is such that it can't handle everything that the future Fennecott or the future Meyer alternative line was identified to take. So right now, we're using a situation where we're temporarily using a pipe that has some excess capacity, but when that excess capacity is used up, then we have to switch over to what the master plan shows needs to be in place. We're collecting funding towards building that through a surcharge, but we don't have all that money today.
Fair enough.
And a question on the roadway. So Fennecis is fully improved to its full width, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, bike paths are all there. So this particular property doesn't have to do anything in that regard. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
But there is a line in the road that's dry?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
That makes more sense now.
We know what size the pipe needs to be, we know where it needs to be, and when the Jacklins came in and built their development north of Prairie Avenue, we had them put those lines in. That, the last thing we want to do is have a developer go in there, spend millions of dollars building a development, only to tear that road up within 5 years to put in a sewer.
Okay, are you talking about north of Prairie?
Well, north of Prairie, yes.
Well, what about south of Prairie?
South of Prairie, because of where we had the plans, they've been putting in the sewer as they put in different phases of the Foxtail subdivision. So there is a small piece from Pole Line Avenue up to Early Dawn Avenue, that's about a quarter of a mile, that the road will have to be torn up and redone. That road was already paved prior to the change in the master planning.
Gotcha. Okay. So when they ask us if sewer is available, the answer is maybe.
Well, the city has a plan on how to bring sewer to that site and make sewer available. However, today, sewer cannot be provided to that site, so development of that site could not occur until the sewer improvements are in.
Any guesstimation how long that would be?
We aren't talking about development right now, we're just talking about annexation.
Just talking about annexation. But that's important for them to know that in coming in and annexing, that today they can't have sewer. And
I'm hoping they'll tell us why they're annexing in now when they can't have services.
Yes.
Maybe they'll tell us.
any other questions for engineering?
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
go. Bringing it back up.
Dramatic pause.
So here we go. So a lot of what Rob just talked about, that will play a bigger role at annexation, you know, rather than assigning zoning to it, but it does help build a context of the request for anybody like watching. So here we go. The proposed site here, it's in this future land use designation here. That's that blue. The way our comp plan is set up is we give a transitional designation, and that directs us to the 41 North focus area, and that their project site is at that location. Looking at the future land use and how it kind of gets intertwined with the goals and policies here on the request. You can see here 41 North development should provide pedestrian connectivity to all multi-use paths and trails, including Highway 41. Focus provisions for multifamily, commercial, and tech uses near higher classified roadways. Goals, maintain and improve Post Falls transportation network on pace with concert in need of plan objectives, and look for different types of quantities of land uses in Post Falls supporting long-term needs. And the policies that could facilitate both those goals would be Policy 26, looking at improving continuity of sidewalks and trails. Annexing should help implement transportation plans, enabling completion of preserving continuity of circulatory pattern of roads and pedestrian ways, and encourage development and provide pedestrian access to nearby parks and trails. So really where these are probably attributed to is, I'll go back a few slides here, is the connectivity to that trail. Like we already discussed, Fennicus is already approved. We already got the right of way for it. So that would be how this development of site would add to users potentially on that Prairie Trail down that sometime.
So John, the Prairie Trail annexation there, that's
Sorry.
not the developer's property, but it's included in the annexation because the city would like to get that in and available to develop that trail in the future.
Yeah, when they came forward, we usually try to get all of
Developed
our
if it's not in the
adjacent,
city?
we try to get all of the adjacent right-of-way whenever a project comes in, or city property as part of the annexation. So when they came in with the initial application, it did not include that in the legal. Then we discussed with the applicant about if they could provide a modified legal description that would include that, so we can bring in the city property with this request.
Can you develop that trail if it's not in the city?
It's already developed. It's already paved.
I don't think that part is.
It's more efficient if city property is within the city limits but technically the city owns it, we could improve it.
I see.
You wanna say something?
Rob, you want to say something?
It's paved just short.
I don't think that part is, though. I know it is.
Just for clarification, the Prairie Trail in that section is owned by the city of Post Falls. It's a city of Post Falls parcel. The Jacquelines, in an agreement with the city of Post Falls, paved the section from Zoros Road to within about 300 feet of Prairie Avenue last year. So it's all been constructed and it's open. So just to clear that up.
Cool.
So housekeeping more than anything.
Yeah, bringing that in, correct.
Cool.
The city of Post Falls portion. Okay, and then this just kind of just shows the road classifications nearby. And here's Fennicus here as being that major collector. Locational, this is kind of the project site. Looking at I highlighted the green area as a potential area that could assist, and this is more of an annexation type discussion, but bringing and enclosing that in, so everything south of Prairie Trail and west of Meyer Road would help and assist squaring that part off within the city limits. But back to zoning, does the proposed zoning district create a demonstrable adverse impact? We send out notices. Here's who we sent notice to see if the proposal affects their jurisdictions. We heard back from school district, they were neutral. Cooney County Fire and Rescue, they typically would comment at time of permitting and closer to development. Police remain neutral. Yellowstone Pipeline said no utilities are in the vicinity of the project, and DEQ said that there is no environmental impacts on the proposed zoning. So there's the three. We reviewed the first two. with the comp plan goals and policy slide, and we just went over the third criteria, which is the demonstrable adverse impact. Any questions for me before the applicant comes up?
Any other questions for staff? All right, thank you. Invite the applicant up. Name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Austin Fuller, Whipple Consulting Engineers, 21 South Pines Road, Spokane Valley, Washington, 99206. This is an annexation request of a portion of a parcel. There was recently boundary line adjustments, and now it is one parcel, and it goes to Fennicus Road that we're proposing. This is a vicinity map of the site. As you can see, to the north is the Kootenai Classical Academy, and then in the vicinity, there's that Peak Fitness building that's right around here to the northwest. And then there's a coffee shop, and then to the west is a developing commercial subdivision. To the south is Prairie Avenue, to the west is Fennicus Road, and then to the north is the Prairie Trail. The site area is approximately 4.81 acres. The existing zoning is agriculture, and our proposed zoning is CCM. This is the current zoning map for Kootenai County. The agriculture zone is in green, and then further out to the west is rural, which is in yellow. And this is our current zoning map for the city of Post Falls. As you can see, to the north, to the east, and to the west of the site is CCM. And then further to the south is the R1, and that's the Foxtail subdivision. The future land use map designation of the property is transitional. To the west directly is commercial, and then to the northwest and to the south are business commercial. There are 3 annexation criteria I'll be discussing. The first is the proposed zoning district consistent with a future land use map and focus area contained in the currently adopted Post Falls Comprehensive Plan? We are in the transitional future land use, and the transitional assigned zones should be compatible with adjacent zones or uses within the city and consistent with the guiding principles within the associated focus area. So this site meets annexation criteria A because we are adjacent to commercially zoned properties. We're also in focus area 41 North, as shown here. There are 5 criteria. I'll go over each one. The first is focus provisions for multifamily, commercial, and tech uses near higher classified roadways. We have Fennicus Road directly to the west of the property, and Prairie Avenue is further to the south. Development should provide pedestrian connectivity to all multi-use paths and trails, including the Prairie Trail. We have direct access to the Prairie Trail, so we meet this one. Manage development patterns in the airport fly zone east of 41 and north of Prairie Avenue, coordinating with the 2018 Coeur d'Alene Airport Master Plan. So we are outside of any crash zones or any sort of thing like that, so we meet that criteria. Facilitate the creation of the backage road system envisioned in Highway 41 Corridor Master Plan, supporting appropriately scaled commercial and mixed-use development along 41 and improving access for nearby residential uses. I was told that Fennicus Road is considered a backage road, and we're directly adjacent to that, so we have access to Prairie Avenue, which then has access to 41. And focus provisions for commercial uses along arterial or collector streets where traffic volume exceeds 4,000 vehicles per day. Fennicus Road is anticipated to exceed 4,000 vehicles per day, so we meet this criteria as well. This site meets criteria or annexation criteria A. Criteria B is the proposed zoning district consistent with the goals and policies contained in the currently adopted Post Falls Comprehensive Plan that are relevant to the area under consideration. We meet the following goals and policies. Goal 6, maintain and improve Post Falls transportation network. Goal 7, plan for and establish types and quantities of land uses that support community needs and the sustainability of the city. Policy 14, follow all annexation procedures established by Idaho State and applicable city ordinances. Policy 24, plan for and protect transportation corridors from encroachment. Policy 26, maintain and improve the continuity of sidewalks, trails, and bicycle paths. Policy 33, annexation should implement the transportation plans. This site meets annexation criteria B. And then I've gone over the focus area 41 North already, so I will move through this one. Criteria C is, does the proposed zoning district create a demonstrable adverse impact upon the delivery of services by any political subdivision providing public services within the city? And there's no evidence in the record that this project would create a demonstrable adverse impact upon the delivery of services. The site meets annexation criteria C. I'm here for any questions. Mr. Ray Kimball will also be here to answer the questions about water and sewer.
Questions?
So kind of just a bigger picture question. Why just this piece? Why not, go if you're going through all the work to annex this, why wouldn't you annex right down to Prairie? It's all under the same ownership.
That's a great question. I'll leave that to Mr. Kimball to answer.
Okay, just bigger question.
Ray Kimball for the record. The reason for that is that there's an existing farmhouse there that's currently in use, and it's been historically in use. It's owned by the Jacklins, and they want to keep that in use as it is for now.
Okay.
So that's
And
the
it just
answer.
wouldn't, I mean, what would annexation do to the, I don't know whether it would change, I guess I'm just asking the bigger question of, would that change anything?
I don't know.
Huh.
It was a decision they made, and that was
Okay.
just what it was.
And is this currently a separate legal parcel?
It is.
Okay.
And why annex it when there's no services available?
So we've been in we've been in contact, preliminary talks with the developer owner, the development team of Foxtail, to go over their timeline and the schedule of how they're going to put that, or the connection half-mile south of Prairie Avenue, which is where we would get to wet sewer, if you will. And so we've been in contact with them, working with the timeline. It's basically just a coordinated effort kind of a thing, not necessarily a way ahead of the gun. You know, we're not jumping in front of anything. As with most properties and projects, sewer is not always right next to them when you have to go get it, and that's what we're doing.
So based on your discussions with them and the time you guys think you're going to develop, everything should work out.
Yeah, and so our timeline is based on a coordinated timeline with them with regards to sewer, and that's what we're going for.
And this is an annexation, not a subdivision, not coming in with a specific plan at this
Right.
time?
Right, yep, just annexation and zoning, so, and
And really, the annexation and the sewer question is going to be more for city council, where we're just
Yeah.
looking at the zoning of it tonight.
right. Any other questions?
And I have one more question. So it looks like maybe CCS and CCM are two zoning districts that would be compatible. Why the one?
CCM has got some cool little, well, one, that's what we have next to it. So the adjoining property to the west is CCM, and for continuity,
In north?
and north, yeah, so it's more for the sake of continuity. There are some advantages that are particular to CCM that are generally, I think, better and more suited for this property.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Public testimony? All right, not wishing to speak in favor, Mark Hughes. In favor, pleased with everything Jacqueline has done to date. Peak Fitness, Cooney Classical, et cetera. They do a good, responsible development. Seeing no others, probably no need for a rebuttal. All right. Close the hearing out. We'll look at the review criteria.
Thank you, Commission. Before you have Idaho Ranch, annexation file 24-8. We're going to be making a zone review recommendation for City Council upon annexation. Review criteria number 1 is the proposed zoning district, which would be CCM, for the 4.81 acres, consistent with the future land use map and the focus area contained in the currently adopted Post Falls Comprehensive Plan.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
We've got CCM on at least 2 sides of the property already. I'm imagining in the future we'll probably have CCM down to Prairie, so I don't see any issue with that.
Thank you. Number 2, is the proposed zoning district consistent with the goals and policies contained in the currently adopted Post Falls Comprehensive Plan?
I think the first one that jumps out at me is because the Prairie Trail, so policy 26. Then the one we did have considerable discussion about, which will come, will be policy 45, is the connectivity with the sewer down the road before this development is done.
There's also a guidance in there too about annexing in islands. And although this isn't totally surrounded, it's not completely an island.
It's right on the
It kind
edge.
of is,
Mhm.
and it's on the radar as far as annexation going forward. So to me, it makes sense from that reason, that point too.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Finally, any evidence of a demonstrable adverse impact from the political subdivisions providing services within the city?
There's been none identified.
I did not hear any either. Thank you.
All right. What does everybody think? Tibby, any thoughts?
Makes perfect sense.
Bobby?
With not knowing how long before that sewer comes in, is it 10 years down the road, will there different opinions on what should be there? It sounds like they're already talking their way through it, so.
That's, my only concern is that when something like this gets annexed and zoned, I'd hate for there to be a presumption that, okay, we can build on it tomorrow. But I think it's pretty clear that sewer's not to the property yet. And there's also a path on how to get it to the property. So I don't see that happening here.
Ross?
No, nothing to add.
Yeah, I would agree, and I guess the sewer is the only minor concern, and with the other development that's out there, I don't see why those conversations, are already being had and why that's going to be an issue long-term. It won't be. So. All right, with that being said, does anybody like to make a motion?
I move to recommend approval of Idaho Ranch File ANNX 24-8, and any recommendations the city brought forth as outlined in our deliberation, direct staff to prepare a zoning recommendation to be provided to City Council.
I'll second.
Well, hold on.
Oh, you want to add the CCM?
Add the zoning type.
Add the zoning designation
Add
in
the
there
zoning type in there.
Designation.
of CCM. Right?
Of CCM.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
So we got a first
I'll second.
and a second. That good?
That
All right.
works.
Roll call, please.
Wilhelm.
Yes.
Driver.
Yes.
Schottenhauer.
Yes.
Stephenson.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
All righty. Next public hearing is the ARC, file number SUBD-24-10. We'll open that hearing.
All right, so the ARC subdivision. The owner is Wild LLC. Applicant is Scott MacArthur with MacArthur Engineering. The proposed subdivision that they're seeking approval is to subdivide approximately 6.14 acres into 39 cottage tiny home lots and 3 multifamily lots within a high-density R3 and single-family R1 zoning designation. The proposed project is, as you see here, it's north of I-90, very at the south end of Corbin, just a little bit to the east. You have just south of Craig Avenue. Surrounding zoning, you see everything around the site is R1. That's in the city. Current land use on this is a large lot, residential use on it. It's over the Rathrum Prairie Aquifer. East Green Acres would be the water service provider, and there was a will serve letter in that A5 in your staff report. Wastewater would be provided by the city of Falls. It's identified that the city has the capacity to provide service. Looking at traffic, Corbin Road is a local residential street to the west, and it connects to Celtice Way. And Celtice Way is a principal arterial. It was identified in the staff report that the traffic operations at the intersection of Celtice Way and Corbin indicate that the development at that intersection meets or exceeds the minimum standards. Looking at the proposed subdivision plan, you see here the 3 multifamily lots are these 3 lots on the south. You'll see in their plan, like right here, they have identified the multifamily sites, but this is going to remain R3 if the subdivision would approve. So that 3rd lot would be the remainder lot out to the west. And then these other lots, these are the cottage product that they intend to develop as that portion. Looking at, we'll go back to that zoning map. So you can see here the northern part of their proposed subdivision. That's that R1 portion of that subdivision. This here is their open space that they're proposing as part of their subdivision plan. Looking at the size of that tract and comparing it to code, and they're proposing about a little over 14,000 square feet. What's required, I did the 39 lots times the code, we require 325 per lot. That's kind of what you come up to. So they're providing the a little bit more than the minimum requirement for open space for that cottage product. We also require that no more than 50% be front-loaded, and you can see here that they put on their site that they are going to meet their proportionality for the front and rear-loaded per code. We also have some required amount that needs to front either a public or private street, and they show on their proposal how they're going to exceed the minimum requirement by about 6%. So going into the review criteria, I already stated the first criteria deals with can you service water, and we have that will serve letter from East Green Acres Irrigation District. The preliminary plan that was identified in the staff report that the city has a capacity to service this project for wastewater. Proposed streets are consistent with the transportation element of the comprehensive plan. It's identified that it would be aligned with the 3rd criteria. 4th criteria deals with any soil or topography hazard issues. It's over the Rathrum Prairie Aquifer, and there's no known soil issues on this site. Criteria 5, kind of went over a little bit in the intro, is the area proposed subdivision zone for the proposed use, and the use conforms with the other requirements found in the code. It was identified that they could meet the minimum standards. All the lots were greater than 2,400 square feet for the cottage, so they meet that, and they meet the other requirements for the cottage development at this point in time. 6th criteria deals with developers paying their fair share. This is done typically with building permits. They pay what's called an impact fee, and so that impact fee goes towards parks, public safety, streets, multimodal, EMS, and fire. These are the agencies that were notified. responses that we got were the school district, they're neutral. Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, as usual, they would review during permitting. Police were neutral. Yellowstone Pipeline didn't have facilities in the vicinity. And a DEQ said there was no environmental impacts. Any questions for me at this point in time?
Any questions for staff?
Is this the first tiny home subdivision that's come before us? I remember
Second.
when we approved the.
It's the second cottage development,
It is?
yes.
So there's, in this,
Where's the first one, John?
First one was over by Legion,
We're off Cecil and Poline?
yeah.
All right.
Anything to get built out?
It was a 9-lot subdivision.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be constructing it, I believe, this year.
on this particular project, there's no zone change.
Nope, no zone change. They're looking for subdivision. So at this point, we're looking at, here, we have the 6 criteria, and they just want to exercise their rights and get the lots.
So my question is, if they didn't subdivide it, they could still put in cottage homes, but it would have to be developer-owned. All of them developer-owned, right? We have provisions to not
Yeah, we have a
subdivide.
provision for you
But
can do
this
it.
allows them to, create individual homes that, for individual buyers,
Correct.
low-income housing for individual buyers.
Yeah, and theoretically, you can build multiple cottage homes on one large lot through our multifamily design standards, and then you could condo plat that, and that could still go for ownership. That has different financing implications on that. This here does allow them to go through traditional, MLS listings that,
Yeah,
yep.
cool.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
All right.
Invite the applicant up. You know the drill, name and record.
Sure. Good evening, Scott MacArthur, MacArthur Engineering, P.O. Box 2488, Post Falls, Idaho, 838547777. Hey, I'm here tonight on behalf of Wild LLC to present the ARC, which is, as we've discussed, a cottage home, tiny home development, mixed use with some multifamily condominium, future condominium access. Or development. So the existing property, as John pointed out, is located just north of Interstate 90, east of Corbin Road, south of Craig. It has access from Corbin Road, and it has access from Terrace Street, which is an adjacent sub-street that East Green Acres has a water main that exists in that road there to the north. As Mr. Manley pointed out, the property is surrounded by R1 zoning, but it has an R3 zoning portion, roughly 4 acres to the south and roughly 2 acres to the north. We've been in front of Planning and Zoning Commission for a special use permit to change that R1. It's R1 zoned with a special use permit for this cottage home, tiny home development. As you've seen in the papers lately and around town, anywhere you turn on the news, there's a need for housing. Obtainable housing. We are looking for that product, and we've found a piece of property and a development that we can make that work on. Our clients have. We need workforce housing, housing for our children, housing for our veterans, housing for our seniors. Home ownership is the goal. So my client came to me with the idea of this cottage home, tiny home development. Looking for a piece of property, several different areas, locations. He had the concept, he had the product, he had the price. He had to figure out how to make it feasible. He's put a lot of effort into this. Wanted to understand the process. We visited with the city, and we came up with a development through several back and forth renditions of this layout. We've been working up to this point on several off-site and on-site steps that need to be taken to make this site work. So now it's go time. So I turned this map here so it would be up.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So this is the general layout of the subdivision. We have one existing home here in the southwest corner. That existing home will remain. We will be taking that home off of septic and putting it on the city's sanitary sewer system. We're currently in the process of mass grading the property, and we'll get to that, and we're making improvements to Corbin Road as we speak to make this site work. As Mr. Manley pointed out, there's 39 proposed cottage tiny homes located in this northern portion to the east of the existing home, and then 24 proposed multifamily future condominium style units. And we'll get to those here shortly, but this is the relative layout that we proposed with the subdivision. We've since submitted a set of infrastructure plans to the city for review. This is a snippet of that plan illustrating the proposed open space for the future multifamily here to the left of what would be Terrace Street, extending from the north through the site to connect to Corbin Road, and then a larger multifamily lot here in the southeast corner. As I mentioned, the developer is gung-ho, and he took the initiative to start the off-site improvements that would be needed to serve this development. Similar to the annexation you just heard, this is property that's been annexed into the city that did not have the available sewer. And so there's roughly about 1,100 feet of off-site improvements in a very narrow right-of-way, which trigger additional improvements to the existing water system in that area, and surface improvements, drainage improvements. They took the initiative before this was approved to get this done, to make this property and the adjacent properties give them the opportunity to connect to the sewer. We are in the process of mass grading the property. You've probably driven by this site, and you've noticed that the historical barn that was in the area, not historical, just joking, has been removed. And we're moving material on the site. The clients had to eliminate the entire, all the organic material from the property and import a substantial amount of suitable structural material in order to extend the utilities to the site. That is in process. We have an approved mass grading plan with the city, and we're currently working towards that. So these are just some overviews of the site as we were working through that process. Here's a rendering of what our conceptual cottage homes will look like. The current layout that we have here, illustrating the proposed cottage homes which meet the city's requirements for size, layout, development, access, parking, etc. And we'll just go through a couple more snippets here. We're looking for a nice product that somebody can own, right? We have deed restrictions, we have common maintenance. It's all stated in your subdivision request. We're looking to create a neighborhood, not a overpopulated area in the city of Post Falls. Some more renderings showing the open space here to the left, and you'll have some cottage homes that'll face the open space area with parking in the rear off of the proposed alleyways. With cottage home, tiny home, and multifamily development, you're required to have amenities to serve the property. So rather than just provide open space for kids to play, which we do, we're also providing amenities. We intend to build a gazebo, similar to this one shown, and also a outdoor gym area that's all-weather, protected, and give people the ability to utilize that common space rather than just have a nice landscaped grass area in front of their home. So it'd be usable, functionable, as required by city code. As we've discussed, the future multifamily condominiums, it's a potential for condominiums, multifamily development. This is a typical rendering of what that might look like. Our clients have successfully built something very similar recently on the Prairie Falls Golf Course, and those have been a real success. And this is a similar style to which we propose for this area. So as Mr. Manley's gone through the subdivision requirement, and as stated in the staff report, there's no objections to the conditions of approval, and as stated, we meet the subdivision review criteria. And I could reiterate those if you'd like, but I think you've read those and heard those twice. So I will stand for questions.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Public testimony? Nope.
None. Wow.
No need for rebuttal. Close the hearing out. Review criteria, please.
Well, we're going to review them again. Thank you, Commissioners. The ARC subdivision file 24-10. Subdivision approval is what we're looking for tonight. Review criteria number 1. Definite provision has been made for water supply system that is adequate in terms of quantity and quality for the subdivision proposed.
Yeah, that was a will-serve letter for East Green Acres in the staff report.
And there's significant offsites already being done that are contributing, that are needed for this property, but also contributed to that neighborhood.
Thank you, Commissioners. Same question again for public sewage system.
Same response. They're doing quite a bit of work on that already.
Except this will be the city.
Yeah, I think the city has a will-serve letter on this one as well, or has capacity. Thank you. Number 3, the proposed streets are consistent with the transportation element of the comprehensive plan. Any thoughts on that one?
It does appear that it's going to have an impact on traffic along Corbin and Terra Street that's feeding into the adjacent. But from what we've heard, the roads that are there, including Corbin and the intersection of Corbin and Celtice further north, is built to handle that. So,
Yeah. And they did mention they're making improvements to Corbin,
yeah.
so that should help offset.
Thank you, Commissioners. Number 4, any areas of the proposed subdivision subject to soil or topographical hazards have been identified?
None.
No testimony on that one.
Testimony.
Number 5, the area for the proposed subdivision is zoned for the use, and the use conforms to other requirements found in the code.
It does. It does conform to Title 17 and 18, R1 zoning.
It's kind of a creative way of doing it too. When you have a property that's split across a couple of zones.
Yeah.
This seems to be a project that was well thought out in that regard.
I would agree.
And finally, adequate plans to ensure the community will bear no more than its fair share of costs to provide services by paying impact fees or other off-site improvements.
No, the developer's bearing substantial off-site improvement costs. And will be paying fees.
Yeah, and impact fees.
And hopefully, and I think the fees are, hopefully at the point in time that they go in for a building permit, the fees will be reduced with some of the changes we've been working on and promote this sort of development. We've been working a long time to try to get a structure in place that pencils. And if the owner can make this pencil, with all the off-sites and fees, it should bode well for this product in the future.
Agreed.
All right, thank you.
All right, what's everybody think? Chris, you have any thoughts?
I think it's a good project. I think it meets all of our criteria. I don't see a reason to object to it.
Ross?
Yep, it's great. It's what we've been waiting for.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I remember when they came in the first time, and we need that housing.
It's a good spot for it too.
Yeah, I would agree.
I like that as a buffer, between the highway and more traditional single family. I think this works really well there.
I agree.
And it meets starter home stuff.
Yeah, I like the fact that whether you want to call it obtainable, affordable, or whatever, it's the homeownership that a lot of organizations in the county are trying to work with developers to do. They may not make as much money as they would off a regular development, but this is going to allow people to try to get in homes and start building that wealth through home ownership.
Agreed.
All right. Anybody like to make a motion?
I will move to approve the ARC subdivision, file number SUBD 24-10, finding that it meets the approval criteria in the Post Falls Municipal Code 17.12.060H, as outlined under deliberations and subject to conditions 1 through 11 contained in the staff report. Direct staff to prepare a written reasoned decision.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor
I'll second it.
and a second. Roll call, please.
Walton,
Yes.
Stephenson,
Yes.
Schlaughauer,
Yes.
Schreiber,
Yes.
Wilhelm.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, administrative and staff reports.
There's done.
Have none. Any commissioner comments?
We had a packed house tonight.
Yeah.
Packed house. Thanks for staying.
He's smiling now. Okay, that's good. For you to smile.
Our
This
audience.
is a great project. Good job, guys.
All right. All right. Next item is,
Move to adjourn.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.